Am I getting imposter syndrome about making a video about imposter syndrome? Possibly, but that's okay. Okay. So let's just dive right on all in. Are you perpetually feeling underqualified for something that you are definitely qualified to do? Do you go home and beat yourself up about that small, minuscule mistake you did and think that it erases everything good you've ever done in life? Are you constantly on edge waiting for people to point you out and realize that you are a fraud? Well, there's a high likelihood that you are experiencing imposter syndrome. And when I gave an option to talk about this in a video today, an overwhelming number of you were interested in it. So here we go, let's talk about imposter syndrome. Hi, my name is Vanessa Raquel, and welcome to this vlog about life advice and stories from the perspective of a queer woman of color. That's me. Please make sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram if you're interested in staying connected. So let's talk about 3 different things. Firstly, 1, what is imposter syndrome? 2, what does it feel like to have imposter syndrome? And 3, what can we do about it? So the reason it's called imposter syndrome is just that, you actually feel like an imposter. It's often within the context of work or school, and it's sort of this unique phenomenon or scenario where you internally are feeling things that are not real and are not factual. So an example of this is, say you're like me and you did a full degree in engineering. So that means that you are factually qualified to have a job in engineering. But then say you get hired for that job and you're starting to do tasks that are related to the things that you studied in school, and yet you're constantly feeling like you have to go above and beyond and prove yourself and there's no way that you're actually qualified enough to do this. That's a perfect example of imposter syndrome. I found this super interesting article from Time that actually talks about different types of imposter syndrome that I'd never heard about before. So I'm gonna read this out to you. Perfectionists set extremely high expectations for themselves, and even if they meet 99% of their goal, they're still gonna feel like failures. Classic. Experts feel the need to know every piece of information before they start a project and constantly look for new certifications or trainings to improve their skills. So these are the type of people who know basically everything because they don't know literally everything, they feel completely worthless. Then there's the natural genius, and this is someone who the second they start struggling or working hard on something, they think they're not good enough. There's soloists who feel that they have to accomplish everything on their own. Then there's super people who feel that they need to excel in all areas of life and work harder than everyone else, otherwise they're imposters. Well, isn't all that just dandy? I'd never really thought of that different categories of imposter syndrome before, so definitely go check out that article, super interesting. But if you think about it, in all these different scenarios, you're basically just completely setting yourself up for failure and you're trying to achieve something that's impossible. You're basically saying there's no room for failure, there's no wiggle room, I have to be absolutely perfect all the time in these specific conditions, otherwise it's all meaningless and terrible. That's not an attainable way to live life. So let's dive into talking about what it feels like when you have imposter syndrome, because surely lots of you feel it and I've definitely felt it too. So I find for me, it can be like I will do 99 things perfectly and the 100th one I'll do a little bit wrong and someone will comment on it, maybe a manager or something. And I'll be like, oh, there you go. It was all a fluke. It was all fraud. I'm terrible at everything. My brain can catastrophize the crap out of a situation like that. I find it makes me really reliant on external achievements, compliments, accolades to validate myself. And yet equally, the second that I get one of those things, whether it's a job well done or an award, my brain will really quickly forget to like accept and internalize that success and just immediately start panicking again. Having imposter syndrome, it just feels like you're constantly questioning yourself. You're questioning your actions, you're questioning what others think about you, you're questioning your work. It's just adding this like layer and cloud over your head of constant self-doubt. And it's really exhausting. I was at an equity, diversity, and inclusion conference last year where I was speaking on a panel. And I was actually on a panel with 5 women who were older than me. And I specifically note that distinction just to add context of where they were in their career. Like, they were not young professionals. And we were asked a question about imposter syndrome, if any of us had ever felt like we had imposter syndrome before. And every single person on the panel said that not only have they had imposter syndrome, but they can sometimes feel imposter syndrome as much as daily. So I'm like, what? And I remember being on that panel thinking like, we're all experts in our fields and yet all of us feel this way. And I think I even said it like live in the moment, something along the lines of, well, it's reassuring because I'm not alone, but also, is this just gonna be the rest of my life that I'm gonna feel this way? But that leads me to number 3. Let's wrap up this crappy feeling, shall we? So, number 1 most important thing is to talk about it. You are not alone. If you're feeling this way, it's likely your colleagues or your peers or your classmates are feeling this way too. You need to confide in one another, be honest about your feelings, and talk about it. I watched this awesome TED Talk related to imposter syndrome that I'll link below, but a big thing that they said was that the feeling of isolation is built upon the fact that you assume no one else is thinking the way that you are thinking. So once you're able to validate it, then you'll realize you aren't alone and you'll feel a bit better. The next tip is to look at the facts. A key driving force of imposter syndrome is being really detached from reality. So write things down. When you get a compliment, when you get an award, when you get a job well done, write it all down. And in those moments where you're feeling insecure and you're really questioning yourself, go back to the facts, go back to what's actually been happening. I know when I used to do all these scholarship applications, I would always feel so good after I was done. And it was because I was sitting there reviewing all this hard work I'd done on 1,000 different initiatives. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have a lot of value and I have done a lot of things. It's not just all a farce. Reread your LinkedIn, reread your resume, go through old emails. I actually got this tip a long time ago where you make a folder in your email inbox just called like nice things. And anytime like a really sweet thank you or something like that comes into your inbox, just throw it in that folder. And then when you're feeling down, you have this long list of emails that you can just reread to make you feel good. I do it and I highly recommend it. Number 3 is don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Everybody, everywhere, don't be afraid of failure. I need that for myself as much as y'all need it. Failure is healthy. Failure is good. People learn from mistakes. You grow, you evolve. Every bad thing that ever happens does not need to equate to the whole world falling down. It can be an opportunity to learn and grow and change. We all can't be perfect at everything all the time, always. We need to have those failure moments so that we can move on. There's always going to be a lesson. We're always going to make it out to the other side. It's okay to have bumps along the road. Number 4 is stop belittling your accomplishments. It's not all because of luck. It's not all because you were in the right place at the right time. You work really hard for what you do and you deserve what you get. I've actually started calling people out on their crap related to this lately. Like seriously, I hear it all the time. People are like, oh, I did this amazing thing, but here's these like 4 excuses about why it wasn't a big deal. And I'm always like, hey, no, that was a big deal. Hello. So help call out your friends, call out your peers, help encourage each other to recognize these moments of imposter syndrome feelings and to shut that crap down. And number 5 is to really, really internalize that you are not alone in this feeling. Folks who are marginalized, whether that's women, people of color, queer folks, trans folks, you unfortunately are much more likely to have imposter syndrome. But I was surprised when I did my Instagram poll of what video I should do, a shocking number of men replied that they were interested in imposter syndrome videos. And the research and stats are largely known that everyone feels imposter syndrome. It's not just you, it's not just one group of people. It's 100% normal, it's not weird. Try not to let it become an isolating feeling because it isn't. And hopefully the more we convince ourselves and convince others that we need to accept our accomplishments and acknowledge when we are qualified for something, then hopefully over time our society will chill a little bit and our generation will get a little bit better at not feeling imposter syndrome all the time. But that's just my thoughts. Tell me what you think about imposter syndrome. Do you have a crazy story, something silly that happened? Leave it in the comments below. As a reminder, my name is Vanessa Raquel. I run a vlog about life, advice, and stories from the perspective of a queer woman of color. I'm always open for video suggestions. Feel free to leave those in the comments below as well. You can check me out on Instagram, and please remember to like and subscribe to help support my channel. So to my gays, gals, and fabulous pals, I wish y'all a very safe and healthy, happy, wonderful week. Mwah! Bye!